Right. In today's session, I'm going to discuss about the Prince2 Foundation certification exam approach, all that stuff. Because as in when I'm conducting this project management training, right? So in regard to the PMP, Prince2 and all that, uh, many of the people, whoever wants to apply for certifications, either it can be of PMP and as well as PMP or Prince2 certifications. Many of the people have uh, some questions like what kind of pattern of examination questions we come across, right? So how the examination pattern must be, right? So what are the different questions we could come across while we are going for Prince2 certification, especially in the foundation level. So there are a lot of questions which people have. So in regard to that, as far as my training is concerned, as I'm providing training on project management and as well as Prince2, today I'm going to discuss about what kind of questions we come across while we are attending for Prince2 examination on a high level note, not in detail. Because as in when we all know, like this Prince2 Foundation or PMP certifications is something which can be done by the people who wants to apply as project manager positions. In this regard, so applying for Prince2 Foundation certification is one of the key and important element, right? So which many people have to be performed with. In regard to that, as far as the training is concerned, because regular training will be provided on Prince2. But when it comes to the certification approach is concerned, there are few questions which I am giving you, right? So I cannot provide all the information, but to an extent possible, what are the areas that this foundation examination certification, what are the areas one has to prepare, right? So either in part of training or something like what are the areas we have to be focused more on? So that's what something which I'm explaining, right? So in this regard, the first one about the risk management part, because risk management is an area where we have to be focused more on as far as the project management is concerned, right? So what are the risk management procedures we follow, right? So risk management standards, what are the different stages of risk management we have, right? So because when it comes to the steps of risk management, right? So either it can be assessing of risk or identification of the risk or implementation, at the same time risk minimization measures or risk transfer, right? So these sort of questions we come across because project management and Prince2 Foundation certifications are scenario oriented, right? So if you are a project manager, how you are dealing with the particular scenario or situation, this is how generally the approach will be. In regard to that, so one area is about the risk management part. So they may ask, because there are some areas where we have to be trained ourselves, especially in the areas of risk management, what the process, right? So we must be knowing about the process. We must be knowing about what are the different steps to be taken to follow the procedures, right? So all these things is what something which we must be knowing. Next, we need to understand the context of the stakeholders because knowing about at the same time having a knowledge over the stakeholders because how we are dealing with stakeholders, either it can be internal stakeholders or external stakeholders, what kind of stakeholders are we dealing with, and what are the different stakeholders and why, how are we interacting with stakeholders and what is that we do. For example, when we want to understand about the stakeholders and also what is that something which comes into our mind as far as the project scope to identify is concerned, right? So there are some scenarios you'll be coming across, right? So how you are going to identify the stakeholders, right? So there were assume that there were more than a certain number. How you are going to identify the stakeholders, and what kind of stakeholder identification techniques are we following, right? So what kind of stakeholder analysis and management techniques we follow, right? So if there will be at the same time, there are some occasions where they will be providing some statement to you, so is that statement is correct or not, right? So true or false kind of, right? So this is also one of the core and important element when we are talking about whenever we are talking about the organization, stakeholders and all everything will be comes into picture. This is the next one. Next, there are some questions which is relating to the organization thing. This is also there. Right, so organizational theme, I can say, right? So, right, so focusing on the organizational theme, right? So, what is the organizational theme, right? So, how to define project assurance role for the team managers, or at the same time, how to define the approach to engage with stakeholders in the organization level. At the same time, how to combine the roles, right? So, where the possibility to simplify the organization. So these kind of questions we may be coming across, majorly focusing on the organizational theme in connect to the multiple aspects of the application development, or when it comes to the project management, how we are going to do this. This is also one of the key and important element when one need to be knowing about. So risk management is one area. Second about the stakeholders, how we are dealing with it. Next, organizational theme management. So this is also one of the core and important element where we have to be focused more on. At the same time, next one is about the business justification part, because I would say that continued business justification. Right. So this is also one of the key area, right? So how this can be done, right? So what are the justification, right? So is it business justification or compulsory when project needs to be approved, or is there any kind of formal business case or document is something mandatory wherein to define the business case, assessing the capability gaps, defining the solution approach, knowing about the assumptions and dependencies of the project, right? So that part is what something which we see. At the same time, when it comes to the continued business justification, value of money, because return of investment is more important. A customer is investing some X amount of money, against to that the return, some expect some return out of it in context to the quality deliverables are concerned. So whatever the investment customer has made in providing solutions and all, so there must be some return of investment, value for money is required. So how you are going to arrange that value of money and how you are justifying it, right? So how your business justification you are doing. So that also we need to be focused more. This is also one of the key and important element wherein we need to be focused when we are working on the Prince2 Foundation examination is concerned. Next, when it comes to the requirement point of view, we can focus even on the requirement level, because what are the different requirements one has to be addressed, right? So is it something acceptable to accept like minimum requirements for applying any kind of plan themes, or else if there is any kind of hierarchical process are we going to follow for the remaining products when we are producing during the plans, or else if there is any kind of diagram are we showing, right? So it's something like sequence diagrams and all everything to produce the planned products or something like, right? At the same time, are there any kind of things we are recording to identify the major tasks which are relating to the project plan? So these kind of questions will also be knowing, right? So these are all the areas where we need to know about it. Next, we must be knowing about the project briefing, because being into project management, especially from the Prince2 point of view, understanding about the project briefing is also important. Right, so this is also important, project briefing, right? So how you are going to brief the project, right? So are you gathering any information, or have you learned anything about the experiences or as well as the lessons we have from the previous projects, or or else is there any kind of quality techniques are we going to define, right? So while you are applying this at the time of projects, at the same time we must be knowing about how to confirm the project which are able to deliver for the detailed business case what we have defined, because sometime back as I told you, so business case like defining the business case, at the same time assessing the capability gaps, determining the solution approach scope, right? So assumptions and dependencies, alternatives, right? So that sort of understanding is also required. Next, when it comes to the importance of the team planning, so team planning is also important. So what are the different team plans do we have, right? So how you are initiating the teams to make our solution more effective. right? So as far as the project management is concerned, right? So how you are initiating a project, how you are controlling, what are the different stages we have, and how we are controlling it. At the same time, how are we managing the stage boundaries we have? At the same time, how are we managing our product deliveries, right? So this is also one of the key element wherein we need to be focused whenever we are working on the Prince2 Foundation examination is concerned. Next, we need to know about how you are going to define the roles and responsibilities in the principles, defining the roles and responsibilities. This is also uh, one of the element we have to be focused on, right? So defining the roles and responsibilities and what are the principles one we have to be followed, right? So if you want to deal with multiple projects and all that, so what are the different unique outputs are we going to identify? Okay, at the same time, what are the different functions which are involving in the project, right? So how we are going to identify the inconsistency in the objectives and how you are sorting it out, right? So these are the major elements when we are talking about. Of course, there are few which I was mentioning here. So when it comes to the Prince2 Foundation examination, when we are applying, as far as the training itself is concerned, when we are taking up the training, so it's always important for us to have a focus on these areas. These are the few areas which I'm explaining you. There were many even. So these are the few, because this is all scenario based learning. Because as in when when we are applying for project management, this is all something like scenario based learning is what something which is always helpful to you to apply for Prince2 Foundation examination when you are writing on. So as far as my training is concerned, when I'm giving training, especially from the Prince2 Foundation examination or Prince2 certification point of view or orientation point of view, I'm talking about to have some live exposure, because exposure is also one of the key and important element apart from applying certifications. So how this can be implemented in from the scenario level is what something which normally I teach as part of my coaching is concerned for the people whoever is interested to provide some exposure. This is what something which majorly I focusing on. So I think this is all about the overall understanding about the pattern of examination, the pattern on a high level note I have given you, as I mentioned earlier, repeating the same. So because there are many other points which are to be addressed, but this is an overall high level glimpse which I have given you, right? So whoever is planning to apply for Prince2 or project management related, so this is what something which people must be knowing. So this is all about this, right? So if you have any questions, if you have any queries, please reach out to the contact details which will be provided in below to this video. Thank you.